Hey guys, how's it going? When it comes to college, a lot of questions come to mind. Which one do I go to? Which major should I choose? Which one is the best in my city, my state, my country, whatever it is? One fundamental question that gets very often overlooked is university really a necessity for me?
I'm literally applying for like minimum wage jobs, and some of them are being like, we're not hiring, and it's like, what? This is not what I expected. I graduated college with 2 degrees in communications and acting.
Is university a necessity for me? Is it a necessity for what I want to do, what I want to achieve, what I want to work, my career for the rest of my life? And for that, there's a very easy answer. Is college necessary? It depends. Clear-cut cases for university, for college, to be absolutely a necessity, and it's undebatable. It's basically there are certain professions that you have to go to college to be involved in professionally. And for this, you're probably not asking this question, but it's obvious. Majors such as medicine, such as law, engineering, even physics, whatever it is like that, where you need a basis, where you need a college degree as a fundamental knowledge, then yes, of course, it's a no-brainer that you should go to college. There are some fields where college is not really a necessity. It comes in handy sometimes, but most of the times people will just hire you based on experience or based on what you've done previously. If you maybe even self-taught, those like photography, like acting.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Like communication.
His ball handling is fantastic. You may not be playing what you used to, right? You may not be as good as you once were, but you may be as good once as you used to be or you were. Oh, I was close to good.
Like art. Those are very subjective and don't really require a degree as much as the other ones. But a degree is always welcome when an application. When you want to follow this career path, although it's not really a necessity, and it ultimately will end up being more like a nice little add-on and a necessity. But a debate has been brewing for the last couple of years in that, is college a scam? Now, to define a scam is very simple. A scam is where someone invests and they don't get their money's worth or their money back. That's what you would call a scam. There's a lot of scams, a pyramid scheme, a lot of scams that I'm not going to get into particularly. In this growing debate, particularly prominent on social media and YouTube, about whether or not college is a scam, this view is often championed by far-right figures to say, like Ben Shapiro.
I think it's a complete waste of money. I think it's a complete waste of time. And I think that it's all it is a formalized, very expensive sorting mechanism for people of IQ. That's all it is.
Charlie Kirk even has a book about it.
Correct. So there's a promise made to a consumer, a big amount of money borrowed, and that promise is not fulfilled far too often. I would say 30 to 40% of the time minimum, 50 to 60% of the time.
The main argument for them hinges on one particular thing. When you pay for university, the way that it scams you from your money is that sometimes, almost half the time, people don't graduate. So they don't have a degree to show for it. Therefore, it's a scam because you gave them money and they didn't give you anything back. Now, however, for me, this perspective is wrong, and this is a very easy case of false equivalence, where education is introduced as a product, and once the product doesn't work or you don't get the product intended, it's reduced to a scam, which college isn't. College is not a scam because a college doesn't promote that you'll get your degree. You'll get your degree if you go 4 years, 2 years, 6, 8 years, whatever you want. You get your degree, your intended degree, and also it's contingent on another thing. It's dependable on a lot of things. It's not just dependable if you go to 4 years. It's dependable on if you do your courses right, on if you do your thesis right. There's a lot of variables, and it's an education.
Objection!
After watching a ton of videos, there is a point that they do make where it kind of does feel like a scam in the way that you have to do and add classes that don't really relate at all into what your major is about, or it's about skills that you don't really need or necessarily want. So that's a good point in their favor. College should not be viewed as a transactional product. It should be viewed as intellectual knowledge, obviously critical thinking skills. Maybe you take a couple different courses and you gain skills that you didn't know you needed or that you didn't know you could get. Public speaking, all of this, and a network of opportunities. Now, for me, in my personal perspective, I went to college, studied psychology, and I studied business. And these fields specifically occupy sort of a gray area. And what I mentioned earlier is in a group of majors that are hard to pinpoint, because For those particular majors, a college degree is not necessary, but it's also not completely useless. For psychology, when I was involved with psychology and psychologists and psychiatrists, it was told to me that it requires understanding of complex theories and concepts, but also hands-on experience with patients, listening to patients, diagnosing patients, understanding fundamentally what you're doing.
When are you going to just, get off this fucking couch here and go live your life and stop having to talk to this fucking person?
Yeah, you're full of anger. Because you flog yourself for being vulnerable.
Oh, would you stop it like you have some sort of psychology degree?
10 years in therapy.
So what? I've watched football for 40 years. I shouldn't be somebody's coach.
I agree.
Yeah. For business, it involves both theoretical frameworks as well, but it also has a very, very fundamental part on the real world applications. If you've done a job recently, if you have experience in a job, also come very, very importantly into an application, into a job application. For these majors, whether college is necessary depends on your specific circumstances. You might question the necessity of the degree, which is fine. However, the foundational knowledge and the networking experience can always and will probably always come in handy while developing your career. Affordability and accessibility. Can you afford not just the money that you're going to spend on it, but the time and the effort and the accessibility towards it? The costs can be staggering. There's some very important statistics. The average cost of a degree in the US is approximately $99,000, $470. So almost $100,000 education. That's average. Top tier universities cost around $60K per year. The state college tuition costs around an average $10K, and out-of-state students or international students pay around $26K on average. Private nonprofit colleges average also $35,000-$40,000 per year. Given these figures, the decision becomes a lot easier to understand. A lot clearer. Mommy. So, based on the cost, it comes to this. Can you afford it? And if you can afford it, then maybe the answer is yes. In both aspects, in time and cost. Now, if you can't afford it and you have to take out a loan, this is where I really tell people to consider getting a loan. Getting a loan for college is something very tricky because at the end of the day, you're not guaranteed a job if you go to college. This is something that a lot of people mistakenly believe.
Can anyone explain to me how I have 2 degrees? I have 2 degrees. Oh, and a certificate. A little extra, right? I have a certificate. May not be a master's, but it's something extra along with the 2 degrees, I'm trying to apply for jobs right now, and the thing is that the only person I have responding to me is a man from a tech company saying, "Hey, you want to answer some customer service problems?"
That if you go to college, you are somewhat entitled to get a good paying job in the future. And this is just not true. Sometimes, and most of the times for recently graduated students, college life after college tends to be very, very complicated because you're believed in college, you're believed that once you get out, the opportunity is just there and you just have your degree and you can just show up for it. But it's just not the case sometimes. Because you have the fundamental knowledge of certain aspects of your career. Things that don't require as much theoretical knowledge, more practical knowledge. Such an example is sales. Sales is a very complicated thing to understand, to begin experience, because you can't really gain a lot of knowledge on it unless you have experienced it.
I value a good education, so I don't want to see Andy waste his time in college.
I would suggest maybe changing your major, or maybe just really going out and just if for acting, maybe just going to theater or something like that. Your years will be way better spent on experience than probably on theoretical knowledge.
Then you can hear the other guy in the other room auditioning, and now you're thinking about not doing it like him as opposed to doing it the way that you wanted to do it. Then before you go in, you hear the casting director negotiating the deal for the guy that already got the part.
Yeah.
Turns out Jared Leto already got it. Yeah. Then you go in, you think you're doing you just say, I'll do it as an acting exercise.
It's essential to weigh in the pros and the cons, consider your career goals, and assess your financial situation before making a decision that could impact the way you deal with the rest of your life. Student loans are the most critical aspect of this. There's people out there that have been paying their loan for more than 10 years.
I'm currently working 2 jobs to try to make ends meet. However, I'm 59 years old, and my credit report shows that I owe $258,000 in student loans. Is there any way I can make that go away?
Good Lord.
The interest rate is way too high. It's way too high. And a lot of students pay a lot of interest, and sometimes they can't even get to the real payment. So they're just stuck paying interest and interest and interest until it becomes a pattern and it becomes a cycle where every month, every year, You get money out of your paycheck. With what Joe Biden has done with the forgiveness of student loans, this is something that, although Joe Biden being a controversial president in the United States, this was mostly a very good idea. And the idea that student debt forgiveness was a bad thing is just very, very wrong. I can guarantee you, I know people that are paying student loans and are fresh out of college, or they left college about a year ago, and it's very, very complicated for them.
This shift is for you, business major. Go buy yourself that new car.
Enjoy your free ride. College is on me.
Tell Congress, stop Biden's bailout for rich kids.
You should consider that option very, very carefully. Now, I'm not saying that if you get a student loan, you basically screw up your life, because you didn't screw up your life. It's just a very, very heavy responsibility that requires a very, very heavy critical thinking about. I'll tell you, leave your comments below if you really want to engage in a conversation about it. I'm always here, so I'm always answering your comments and seeing what people think. Hey, maybe it's wrong. Maybe you do think that college is a scam, as a lot of people do. I'd love to hear about it, your thoughts on it. Thank you. See you guys.